I'm Soledad.
Peace, what's happening, y'all? We're live and direct tonight, broadcasting from the world famous RBG, Rap Brown, Georgia. You know what I mean? Broadcasting from Atlantis, Atlanta, GA. You know, tonight we wanted to come through and talk to family about a number of different things going on here in America, specifically. One of the things that we wanted to discuss is our state of the black race, because we feel that, you know, it's often a lot of times we talking about what problems are, what the solutions are, so on and so forth, but we don't get a clear projection or a clear overall idea of what's going on. So we wanted to kind of kick it on the state of the black race tonight. My name is Kalonji Changa. I'm representing the FTP movement, and I am a special uninvited guest tonight. And I'm rolling with two of my cohorts over here, you know, to make sure that we lay this out properly. Usually when you turn your television set on, you know, you get a whole bunch of hoopla, you get some entertainment, you get some BS, you get a couple cats that kind of dance on the line, you know, and you get some folks who act like they really about people and they really just on some self-motivated type situations. But tonight, we're going to change the dynamic. We're going to flip it around and, you know, make it happen. I have two wonderful, esteemed guests with me tonight. They are both co-hosts of the radio show Minds Matter. And they're two, first of all, they're journalists, they're freedom fighters, they're organizers, they're revolutionaries, and they're plain, everyday people who are working on behalf of the people. So I want to start off by giving them a lightweight introduction. To my left, we have our good sister ZaZa Ali, who is a native of Oakland, California. And y'all know about Oakland. Y'all know that's the home of the Black Panther Party. You know it's the home of so many other folks who put it down, you know, out in that particular area and arena. You know, we know that California is one of the homes of the prison movement as well. You know what I mean? So to my left, we have Sister ZaZa Ali.
Peace to the viewers, peace to everybody in Atlanta, and peace to the family all across the country.
No doubt. To her left, we have a brother over here who is a quite a youthful young man. Been in the game for a while. You know, most folks know him as the Minister of Information of the group, revolutionary hip hop group, Public Enemy, who was incidentally inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year, correct?
Incidentally, yeah.
Yeah, incidentally.
Not purposefully.
Yes, yes. And the views, first of all, let me give you the views. The views and expressions of tonight's guests are not necessarily the views of People TV.
Right.
But they damn sure the views of the people where we come from. So we're going to get that clear out the gate. Now, let me loosen up a little bit, y'all, because I'm kind of nervous over here. These lights got us feeling like we baking over here. Folks are sweating.
Interrogated. Right?
Yeah, interrogated. You know what I'm saying? We wired up like we down sharp. But it's all good. We're going to have fun tonight. Hey, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Anyway, brother right here, man, Minister of Information of the group Public Enemy. He's also co-host of Minds Matter. He's an author. He's an activist. You know, and you know, he's a comrade. My man, Professor Griff.
Greetings, peace to everyone.
Now, what we gonna do? How y'all feeling tonight, first and foremost?
I'm feeling really good.
Feeling really good? How about you, sir?
I have a very kind of revolutionary spirit going on, waiting to get some things out as we've been getting things out like for the last week since the Empowerment Radio Network, the Minds Matter thing started. And for the last, 8 months or so, on Enemy Minds Radio on Blog Talk.
Right.
So we've been getting things out, but there's some things that, you know, we need to say to different audiences.
Word, word. And they need to see you live because sometimes, folks,
They only hear us, you're right.
yeah, they hear the voice, and sometimes they think that if they don't get to see you lecturing live, then they think that folks hide behind microphones.
Right, right.
So we want you to know that this ain't no dub plate, this ain't no no edited. This is
Right.
all live and direct and raw.
Right.
The title of tonight's show is called "The State of the Black Race," and I want to start off by asking you all, what is the state of the black race?
Well, when you're talking about whole idea of three concepts in that particular title, one is the state. What is the state? Two, black, the whole concept of black, and then number three, the whole idea of a race. So if you're talking about the state, i.e., your state of mind, state of being, we have to kind of identify exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about the black race. So what is the state? What is the condition of black people? In all of the 9 areas of people activity that Francis Cress Welsing talks about, including the 10th one, which is health. So what is our state locally? What is our state globally? And then how do we interact with not only nature, other people, how do we interact with those that are inside of the race with one another? Then the whole concept of black, and I don't mean to be too wordy. There's some people now that's doing away with the whole term black. But if we take it back to its essence, its origin, I think we will know and understand that it's impossible to do that because everything comes from the dark matter. Everything comes from those gateways and those doorways. I'm talking about the macro womb of the universe. And then we can bring that back on home to the micro womb on which we all come through. We're talking about dark matter. We're talking about all of those, including melanin. We're talking about all of those things that we need to exist on the planet. All right, not the things not those particular definitions that are sandwiched between someone's dictionary. We'll talk about that in a minute. Then the whole idea of being reduced down to a race. A minute ago, we were the only people here.
Right.
And we didn't need to use these particular terms. And then something happened to the point where we had to have this conversation to identify those particular things that's going on, not only going on with black people in America, but black people, black Africans in the diaspora. So we do need to have a conversation dealing with the state, the condition of black people. And when I say black, I don't mean the color black. I mean, because all of us was black and brown before we met anybody else.
Right.
And we need to understand it. Then the whole idea of being reduced down, which Elijah Muhammad said, we're a nation within a nation, but being reduced down to this whole concept called race.
Cool. So for the record, we're not just talking about the semantics, because sometimes we get caught up in the wordplay. Well, I'm not black, I'm olive, I'm not olive, I'm turquoise, and all that type stuff. We're talking about original people.
We're talking about original people, right? And then we're not only playing with those words, we have to understand that this is not our language, first of all.
Right.
So we might have to speak sometimes in symbols and sometimes nonverbal communication, and sometimes we need to use languages that indigenous to us as a people all throughout the globe in order to even have this particular conversation. The English language, as I always teach, is incapable of holding the weight and the magnitude of how we have to communicate with one another. All right? If I said that when I see this sister, I see God having a human experience, the average audience that understands and knows English, that may not be able to fit into their understanding or their circumference of their understanding. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to be careful, not only with the wordplay, but the English language is definitely limited.
No doubt.
Yeah.
ZaZa Ali, what's the deal?
Well, the rapper Nas said black Americans were the teenagers of the world. There are global decisions regarding economies and educational systems and prison industrial complexes and just institutions in general that are being made, and we are not sitting at the tables where those decisions are being made. Our people lead all of the statistics as far as the worst categories in this country. Our men lead as far as the numbers in the prison industrial complex. Our sisters are catching up as far as the number of women that are being incarcerated and just in the justice system in general. Our children are failing and being failed in the American schools. Our daughters are now on the internet, whoring themselves, for lack of a better word, out to the world. There is a buffoonish culture that has become prevalent within our music and within the media images that we see, be it on the news, excuse me, or on the internet, in the magazines, in the radio ads. Our women, a study was put out a couple of years ago that the black woman has a net worth of $5. Now, for the listeners who are listening, net worth basically means what you have after all of your bills are paid. So we're not talking about owning a home with a $100,000 or $200,000 mortgage. We're not talking about owning a car with a $10,000 balance. We're not talking about having credit cards that you may have $2,000 available on, but you owe another $3,000 on. We're talking about actual net worth. So we're not sitting at the table when we're talking about IRAs and trust funds and college funds and owning actual assets that will carry on to the generations behind us. We're talking about leaving debt to our children.
Right.
So when we look at the overall consensus of Black America right now, when you look at Renisha McBride, a 19-year-old sister who stopped, who needed help, who had a car accident, and she ended up getting her head blown off. When you look at Cody Ingham, a young black man who was lynched, hung in Athens, Texas, and nobody's talking about it. When you look at Kendrick Johnson, the brother who was murdered and then had his organs removed and had newspaper stuffed in his body. There's a young brother who was found in the California desert with his organs removed. His body was, he's from Georgia actually, his body was found and all of his organs, eyeballs and everything had been removed. There is a brother who was found in New Jersey, hung. These are just the known names. We're not even talking about, and we can't talk about because we don't know all of the unknown names of brothers and sisters that are dying just at the hands of vigilantes and police officers in this country. That's not even dealing with black on black, quote unquote, black on black crime. There was a sister who was she was in the government in Chicago, I believe, who said that she believed that the police may be killing some of our children. Now, somebody's going to hear that and say that's far-fetched. But when you're looking at a people who's in our condition and that have been through what we've been through, we shouldn't be putting anything past these people at this point. So when you look at the overall consensus, and I haven't even touched on all of the issues and epidemics, homosexuality is a serious epidemic in our communities. I talked earlier on the Warren Ballantine show and just mentioned the fact that, you know, we talk about the fact that we're not reproducing children. Well, what's happening with the sociological impact that it's having on our children and our men and our women? What is this thing about being a homosexual and turning other people out? Why is there a bully pulpit for homosexuals where they think that it's okay to go into schools, into other arenas, and seek to turn someone else out? Where does that mindset come from? So when we look at all of these things, and then abortion in the black community, what's happening to the young black female and to the black womb, to where it's prevalent now in our communities where I believe it's 76,000 black babies are being murdered. I'm sorry, I don't want to say murdered because it implies that there's a lack of sensitivity for the sisters. We're all out here making choices, but you know, Planned Parenthood has opened the floodgates for our sisters to have a choice when it comes to the best thing that we could put forward, which is life. So when we look at Ma'afa and we look at the number of black babies who have been aborted since abortion became prevalent, it's 17 million. And that number isn't even current for 2014. So why are we not talking about that? And why are we not operating from a position in a state of emergency? And that is what Griff and I do every day on our show and throughout our work.
You know, you mentioned several different things, and you know, we can go in any direction. We can go I-85, 75, 20. We can walk on this. We can go MARTA. You know what I mean? Most of the things you talked about sounds like genocide.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Would you agree that it's genocide? And do you think that it's by design, or is it just a, you know, a happenstance situation? You know, these things happen to just be going on, or is it connection? Is it a global connection? Is it, You know, is it a combination or culmination of things, or
Well, the term, there's been a term coined, it's called Stockholm Syndrome. And Stockholm Syndrome refers to when you start to identify with your oppressor. There was a study done in Sweden where some bank robbers had taken some people captive. And the people who were taken captive actually, after a certain amount of time, when they were treated fairly by their captors, started to identify with their captors. And I would say that black people in America and even all over the world, even though when you're dealing with Africa, when you're in your homeland, it's a different situation. But we have started to identify with our captors. So when we talk about molestation, which is prevalent in our community right now, even men molesting young boys, well, slave masters were raping men and boys. That has transformed in the DNA of our people into different segments right now. But I would say that that is directly relative to homosexuality. When you look at the relationship between the black woman and the black man during slavery, the lack of ability to show emotion, to be nurturing, to show care and concern for family members, for fear of being stripped apart, the notion of being a breeder, of breeding babies with multiple women and never having any direct contact in their lives. All of these things are happening in our community right now. So it's absolutely genocide, and the weapon has just been changed. Racism is covert now. It's not overt like it once was. And now we have a black president. So a lot of our people have been rocked to sleep. Just the fact that a black man is president of the United States. Well, what about the fact that we have black men and women who are sitting at the forefront of corporations all across this country, but have not put any type of dent in the unemployment numbers? In New York, over half of black men are unemployed. How many black CFOs and CEOs and Wall Street bankers do we have in that area? And what is the real power that they have to put a dent in the power structure to help our people? So yes, it's absolutely genocide, and it's absolutely by design, brother.
sounds good to me. Professor Griff, I'm talking to ZaZa, and you know I'm feeling like I'm talking to Professor ZaZa over here.
You probably are.
Sound like, you know, I'm hearing, you know, we talk about genocide and all that. What's your take on that? We've heard from the sister, you know what I'm saying, and she has some very valid points. Some of them we're going to bounce back on.
Right.
Because of the fact that I know there's some people that are sitting at home like, oh, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that. And by the way, the phone lines will be open up for anyone that, you know, that has any questions or comments or whatever, you know, in regards to what's happening.
Well, just to come back off of what she said, the whole idea of it being a system, we've identified this system a long time ago, and I think it was one of our great scholars and writers, Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, who identified it and called it for exactly what it really is, her and our good brother, Dr. Neely Fuller. He said it's racism, white supremacy. So when we're talking about genocide, we're talking about destroying an entire group of people. So what we need to do at this particular point, has this ever happened in history? And let's press the cultural and historic reset button and go back to see if some of these things have affected another group of people, so we can even get to the point in this conversation where we can charge genocide. My father's a Blackfoot Native American. Where's the Blackfoot tribe today? And we can go search Montana, we can go search Florida, Pennsylvania area, Middle America, and we can search the history and the whole idea of the Blackfoot tribe being dispersed. You'll find remnants in different parts of the country. There's no, and then when you do meet them, there's no traces of the original Blackfoot. I'm talking about the ones that are darker than me. You'll find the ones with the blue eyes and the blonde hair, the ones that look like they use Clairol. Do y'all still use Clairol? The women use Clairol on their hair?
I've never used
Well,
Clairol, sir.
Okay, cool. Well, maybe that's an outdated brand, but
No Clairol.
No Clairol, bruh.
oh, okay. But I'm talking about the ones with their hair dyed, fried, and combed to the side. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
But anyway, you won't find the original Blackfoot Native Americans. So then when we trace the onslaught of the Native Americans, we could trace it right on back to the Trail of Tears, beyond that to when they was handed smallpox blankets, disease blankets. No more Blackfoot. And I believe there's over 175 different tribes that roam the land here in the United States of North America before the white man came.
Okay, so you saying that this, you know, you mentioned global white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the white man. And there's some folks that are out there now, we in Atlanta, Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some folks that feel like they've reached the mountaintop, and they feel like, you know, we, quote unquote, have a black president.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you say to them that believe that, you know, that racism is a thing of the past?
Wow. I mean, we could give vivid examples of racism that still exists, but if you confuse racism, white supremacy, with prejudice, with discrimination, then you might get it confused. I believe it was Neely Fuller said, if you do not understand racism, white supremacy, how it works, what it entails, anything else that you think you understand will only confuse you. You have to understand what it is, because we might get it misconstrued with something else. And I think a lot of times we do that. We'll look at one or two incidents, and we'll look at that as being racist incidents for that one incident, not knowing that incident is tied into our condition, tied into our state of mind, and that's tied into a system that's working simultaneously in all areas of people activity. So it's not just that one particular incident. The sister talking about bodies coming up and people coming up missing, organs being taken out to be sold on the black market. Some brothers were found when they cut the bodies back open that the organs were missing and the bodies were stuffed with newspaper. All right? We can tie that directly into a system, as Baba Dick Gregory teaches us, of racism, white supremacy, local and global. So we need to understand these particular dynamics, get the definition correct at the core so we can understand these things.
Is the white man still the devil?
Well, it depends on how you define white man. I believe ZaZa has something to say about my last point, and depending on how you define devil. When I have to look at the scope of Professor Griff's existence, he was, is, and always will be devil.
Well, I would like to address the question that you asked. First of all, we need to stop allowing, and everybody that's listening, we need to stop allowing ourselves to be handicapped with this term racism when we start to speak to and about the plight of our people. The term racism with the word ism at the end denotes a societal, it denotes a way of life. So this is systematic. So racism is denying health care. Racism is denying jobs. Racism is the prison industrial complex. Racism is the educational system. Racism is indoctrinated through religion. So it's one thing to be prejudiced, which we all can be accused of, but it is impossible for us as blacks in America to be racist. Now, when we talk about, first of all, let's have a keep it real moment. America and the global economy was built on the backs of slaves. So our people and the work of our people built the global economies. Now, we want to talk about racism and talk about the fact that we're sitting here and speaking out about the plight of our people. Why is it that the other ethnicities will not speak to and about the fact that our people are deserving of reparations? Why is it that when black bodies turn up with organs missing, that other people do not speak to the fact that something is really, really happening? Why is it that when the media ostracizes our people, ostracizes the fact that 275,000, I believe that's the number, of black women, men, women, and children are going missing every year, disappeared into thin air? This is not water cooler conversation. We're not talking about the plight of black men in prison. Other races are not talking about the plight of black men in prison. So if you want to accuse me of racism just because I'm bringing the problems to the forefront, then I can easily throw that back at you and say, well, you're not even speaking about the plight of our people. We are dealing and viewing a hemorrhaging that is happening throughout America in the inner cities, particularly with our men, and it is directly tied back to what happened to us through slavery. So this notion about forgetting about that is insane, because we can actually see the visual effects of what has happened to our people right now, and everybody is standing back and watching it happen and not doing anything about it. We're still talking about the plight of Jewish people in the Holocaust that happened how long ago? But we can't even deal with the fact that between 7,000 and 9,000 black people are being murdered in the inner city of America, regardless to who it's happening by. If it's at the hands of a black person or a white person. You don't care? Is that racism? So when the people that are listening, the brothers and sisters who try to have these conversations and people shut you down when they talk about racism, give them that definition. Give them a better understanding of what's actually happening to us. And particularly black women, we are absolutely dropping the ball as far as being in tune and in touch with what's happening to our children. And it's a disgrace and it's a travesty, and I'm dedicating my life to edifying and uplifting the minds of black people. But if you can't sit down and be able to pinpoint how we got to where we are, just to start out, that's not even talking about the solutions, then we have a serious problem.
You mentioned number of missing people. For the record, in 2013, there was 900,000 people missing, and over half of those were black men, women, and children. So 900,000 is almost 1 million people were missing, and that's not an outrage.
And where are they going?
Hey, I believe that those body parts we're talking about, that black market, you know, it's serious business when it comes to these organs. And we're going to talk about that before the show's over, because we have a rally coming up for Kendrick Johnson, a brother who was murdered down in Valdosta, Georgia. We have a rally on this Friday, April 4th, down in Macon, Georgia. So if you're available, there'll be buses leaving from the West End Mall, vans and buses, on Friday morning at 8:30 a.m. And it won't cost you nothing but a ride. So definitely go out there and support that brother. His organs was missing, as ZaZa pointed out, and you know, his body was stuffed with newspaper. You know, so I want to talk about one thing I want to talk about is the whole. You talked about slavery. You know, and we kind of danced on the prison industrial complex, which is, as Michelle Alexander pointed out, the new Jim Crow. In Chicago, 2012, there were over 700 and something murders, you know, black on black, whatever, you know what I'm saying, as they say. In 2013, they shut down 54 schools in Chicago. Okay, which kind of forced a lot of these kids, a lot of these youth, to end up going to the same school as rival, you know, neighborhoods, so on and so forth.
Purposely done by design, but go on.
Right. So naturally, if you have over 500, 700 murders in a city, mostly youth, why would you shut down 54 schools, which is the largest number of public schools shut down anywhere in America, in the history of America? Can you speak on that?
So are you implying, or is there implication built in the question that the school system has something to do with these political moves that are being made to bring gangs together?
Hey, man, you know, seeing that America and the police department is the biggest gang, I'm not going to imply anything. I'm going to ask the professor. He's the professor. I'm just the host tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me give ZaZa his definition of racism, white supremacy, so we can be clear, since she put the information out there. But we're going to answer the question, because the question is tied right into it, because the 9 areas of people activity include education. But listen, they're not part and partial. They're all connected to one another.
Right.
And they're happening simultaneously. So if you can read this definition for us so we can get an understanding.
Yes, sir. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing teaches us that racism, white supremacy, is the local and global power system and dynamic, structured and maintained by persons who classify themselves as white, whether consciously or subconsciously determined, which consists of patterns of perception, logic, symbol formation, thought, speech, action, and emotional response, as conducted simultaneously in all areas of people activity. Those areas of people activity are economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, for the ultimate purpose of white genetic survival and to prevent white genetic annihilation on planet Earth, a planet upon which the vast majority of people are classified as non-white, black, brown, red, and yellow, by white-skinned people, and all of the non-white people are genetically dominant in terms of skin coloration compared to the genetically recessive white-skinned people.
Now, with that definition as a base, going back to the question that you posed when we were talking about closing the schools, hell, the schools wasn't designed to educate us from the rip, from the beginning. You understand what I'm saying? And shame on us, as ZaZa talked about earlier. Why is it that we can't educate our own? Every place you go on the planet, you'll find people educating their own. What kind of madness and what kind of state or condition that we as black people are in where we take our children, wake them up early in the morning, feed them Captain Crunch and Fruit Loops and the rest of that madness, Rice Krispies and the rest of that, take them, put them in the car and drive them to the enemy school, dump them off to get indoctrinated, go to work, come home and pick them up and expect them to be sane.
Right.
Who does that? You don't find Jewish people taking their children to German schools. Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely.
So the whole idea of the damn the school closing, we should applaud it. But at the same time, turn around and do something about it. Maybe the Creator is setting up the condition to the point where it's forcing us to do what we should have been doing any old way, educating our own, plain and simple.
Is it far-fetched, this notion that perhaps it is by design to put all of these people into a volatile situation, to close the schools where we know our children need to not only be educated but to have somewhere to go every day while their parents work, in order to create a powder keg? Is it far-fetched to think that guns were placed in trains and dropped off in South Central LA simultaneously while the movie Colors was put on the broad screen in order to create an environment where not only did our youth strive to be gang members, but at the same time you put the tools right in their lap for them to actually kill themselves and to implement that behavior?
Right.
Is it far-fetched that in Dark Alliance, the reporter Gary Webb talked about his connections with Freeway Ricky Ross and the fact that it's already been proven that the CIA was directly connected in the scandal with cocaine being brought into America?
With the CIA agent, Danilo Blandon.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So Michael Rapport, Rapport?
Rappaport.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Rappaport wrote a story and made a direct connection to not only cocaine being brought into the United States, but crack cocaine being intentionally put into the black communities. And Gary Webb said this in his book at the same time, when he wrote it, excuse me. So if they intentionally created a drug, and a lot of people will say, well, we don't know where crack actually came from. Freebase was this, Freebase was different than cocaine. We didn't have lab technicians sitting in the black community trying to figure out how to create a cheaper version of cocaine, okay?
Right.
There had already been experiments in the Bahamas of crack cocaine because there was a similar substance in the plant that had the exact same effect as crack cocaine. So you can do the research to find all of that. I don't want to go too deep into that, but if it's not far-fetched that they would create a cheap version of cocaine and put it in the black community in order to kill off 2 to 3 generations of black men, and if it's not far-fetched that they would drop guns in our communities and at the same time create a media frenzy with a movie like Colors, and then at the same time you have the war on drugs by Ronald Reagan, who simultaneously declared war on the black woman, dealing with terms like welfare queen, etc. If none of these things are far-fetched, then why would the situation that you just put on the table be anything but?
Right, exactly. And then on top of that, the whole idea of the white boy who actually wrote the story, Gary Webb, ended up with 2 bullet holes behind the back of the ear.
Yeah, they said he committed suicide by
Exactly.
shooting himself twice in the back of
Ain't
the
that
head.
something?
Killed himself twice. He's a bad dude. San Jose Mercury News, Gary Webb.
Yes.
Y'all need to look him up because, see, For the listening audience and the viewers, because I'm forgetting that we're on TV, we keep talking about the listeners.
Yeah.
For the viewers, look some of this information up. Don't just take our words like we some babbling, bumbling, mad revolutionary, just angry militants, because that's pretty much how the media likes to portray, folks who come with truth. They want to make, discredit them, make them look like they're insane and, they're emotional. Look at them, they're angry. Nobody's face is looking mad. Right now, you know what I'm saying? Although we should be mad. You mentioned something about the trains dropping the weapons off in L.A. I want to point out that in 2012, there was 26 cases around the country of trains that happened to dock or broke down 2012 in different communities, including here in Atlanta. And the trains were broken in and weapons were stolen. So those are some other things you should look up.
Or
it hasn't stopped.
Found.
Yeah. So, it's real serious business. It's not just, us just being emotional. Like I said, look it up. We talked about, we kind of danced on the whole prisoner pipeline, school to prison pipeline. And our good brother Raheem Shabazz has a good film I trust to check out called Elementary Genocide. But we kind of danced on that. Right now, we're, according to them, 13, 14% of the population. 64% of the prison population. Let's stop right there and think about this. 13, 14% of the U.S. population, yet 64 to 67% of the prison population.
Right.
Okay? That's a serious number right there. First of all, mathematically, I don't even see how that can really be possible.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But that's the numbers. We have the private-owned prisons right now. We have a number of different celebrities that own prisons. We have, it's big business. While they're closing these schools down, they open more prisons inside of these rural areas, inside of these little country hick towns, and it's becoming big business.
Yeah.
So we see the youth are being murdered, and they're being locked up, and the schools are being closed. And again, we have ideas on the school being closed, so on and so forth. My question to you all is, how do we begin to combat a situation of this magnitude? You know what I'm saying? I know it's a serious question, it's a loaded question, but how do we begin to combat it? And how do we begin to arm our youth with the proper information to not fall victim to one of those two doors?
Well, do you think it starts at home? Just give some examples, and then I'll toss it over to ZaZa. We got pulled over the other day, and this is strictly for young people. And we hear case after case where white officer shoots black teenager. You understand what I'm saying? The set of instructions that I personally gave my son. You get pulled over, you're caught behind enemy lines. Act accordingly.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Light on, engine off, roll down the window. You understand what I'm saying? Give him the authority that he knows that he's going to get at the end of the day any old way. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But hold on to your dignity. You understand what I'm saying? Don't worry about the pride. Lose the ego. You're caught behind enemy mines. Name, rank, serial number. That's it. You understand what I'm saying? What do? We yes-heard him to death.
Right.
He felt so important he left.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? No, I'm going to say that again in English. We made him feel so important and so in control.
Right.
No threat.
Right.
He didn't know what we had in that car.
He didn't know who you was.
Thank you.
And he saw your video, he'd be like, get out the car.
If you didn't watch this show.
Real quick.
But he
You
didn't
might
know.
want to take the back road out.
Right. But he was dealing with two adults, two conscious individuals.
Right.
They were not going to let two parents, they were not going to let him impose his evil, sadistic will on us.
Right.
And this is just instructions to younger people.
Right.
If you're caught behind enemy lines, you act accordingly. So in combating some of those greater issues, how do we not end up in the prison industrial complex? As opposed to that, how do you not end up in the military industrial complex? Are you following me?
Absolutely.
How do you go to school, get an education, and extract what you need, all right, to have enough on cap to the point where you can carve out an existence for yourself? The answer to that may be take 2 sets of notes. There's different strategies. Mine is you take 2 sets of notes. One set of notes, you regurgitate, get it, write it down, study it, regurgitate that madness back to them to get the grade. The other set of notes is what you really need in this society, in this world, all right, to survive in America. You understand what I'm saying? Right. And I would think the latter would be a little bit more important. Right. Get the grade, but nonetheless, you have to at least have know enough and get enough and extract enough from what they're teaching in the education. Listen, reading, writing, and arithmetic, which is not the 3 R's, but we need to have at least that when it comes to health. All right, the only thing we should be going to the hospital for is what? A broken bone, probably what, to get stitched up. But all these other quote-unquote fake pseudo-diagnosis on black people, stop that. A lot of black people, I don't forget the medical term, but a lot of black people die at the hospital.
Right.
Okay, so the answer to that is we need to take better care of ourselves. We talked about earlier today on our show, Empowerment Network, the kitchen being the laboratory of the woman and the man. Mm-hmm. All right? That's your health clinic. That's your doctor's office. This is where you stay alive. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And this is very important. So there's some simple methods is what I'm trying to say overall. Some things we can implement on a family, sitting in the living room, talking level. Driving in the car, talking level, that we could equip our children and ourselves with to get through some of the madness and the pitfalls and the landmines that we find in America when it comes to the prison and military industrial complex.
Absolutely.
I would say, I think we're not having the proper conversations and we're not having the tough conversations that we need to have. But not only are we not doing that, we're not asking the proper questions. And one of the proper questions is why? Why would another people put as much energy and effort and time and resources and money and mental energy towards the destruction of another people?
Right.
2 things can't occupy the same space at one time. Mm-hmm. So white supremacy can never exist when our people are at our best. It's impossible.
Right.
Therefore, they systematically use all of their resources, all of their time, and all of their energy to destroy our people. Why? I got to a point where I was studying where I couldn't get past that question. Why? I couldn't get past slavery. Why did God allow what happened to our people, and how did we get in the situation that we're in right now? I tell people all the time, the black family will destroy white supremacy. The black family, the nuclear structure, intact, man, woman, and child, is the death of white supremacy. So if we know that, then we understand why they have to pull the man out of the household and put him in prison. Mm-hmm. Then we understand why we have to have the black woman addicted to reality television and to material goods, because it takes her mind away from nurturing the child.
Feminizing the son.
And effeminizing the son. We understand why we have to have our children addicted to technology and keeping them away from discovering the science of self.
Right.
So if they're putting all of this energy, people say it's economics. The prison industrial complex is all about economics. J. Edgar Hoover said in the development of COINTELPRO that they were trying to stop the rise of Black Messiah. Not black leader, not black teacher, not black professor, the rise of a black Messiah. What does the word Messiah mean? The Christians and the Muslims and all of the different races, religions and ideology around the world, everybody's expecting somebody to come back. Now, when we deal with African and spiritual science, it's not necessarily a person who's coming back, but it's a mindset that's coming back. We're in the age of Aquarius now. The consciousness is shifting, right? So while our consciousness is shifting, while you have a sister and 2 brothers that are sitting on this table who know who they are and who understand the dynamic of racism, white supremacy, the aim and the goal to destroy our people, the ante has been upped now because information is prevalent. So it's never been just about economics. Even during slavery, it was never just about economics. They knew Europe had been ruled for 700 years by black people, by Africans. They knew who we were. They knew the power and potential of our people. They know who we are now. That's why they dedicate so much time and effort to destroying our people. So this is the message that I give my 10-year-old son. There is something extremely special about our people. There is something extremely special and potent about being a melanated person on this planet. That's why they go to such extreme efforts to destroy our people. So when you're armed with that mindset, it's not to be arrogant, it's not to be egotistical, it's to have the proper understanding so that you move out through the environment and create your own will, and people will, the world will, the universe will conspire to make whatever you need to happen, happen. So when you're in the back of the police car, or when you're in front of the judge, or when you're dealing with a teacher in school who doesn't have your best interests at hand, you already have knowledge of self. So you'll be able to nurture the situation so that you get the outcome that you need.
I think we have a phone call, is that correct?
Caller, yeah.
Yeah, but we have a caller calling in. You all don't mind? You mind taking the call?
Not at all.
Okay, so.
Yes. Hello?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Yes, I just have a question about integration and segregation. I strongly feel that integration has ruined us as a people because when we was segregated, I think we was more family-oriented as a people, and once we got integrated with white folks, I think we lost who the real enemy was because, as you say, keep your friends closer. I think white people wanted integration as much as we did back in the civil rights age because they could keep a close tabs on us.
Well, ZaZa read the definition of racism, white supremacy, and that statement that you made might not be true simply because if we love white people as much as they lie and say that they want to love us in this whole idea under one of the people activities called religion, we would love them right on out of existence. So I don't think they necessarily want us to love them. You understand what I'm saying? So no, the saying may be true. You keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. That's a military science, but for a different kind of situation. Definitely.
Well, I would say as far as the integration aspect, let's look at the example of the Negro Leagues. We had some of the best baseball players that the world had ever seen. I mean, arguably, if they were in the leagues right now, they would be blowing everybody else out of the water. So we had economies in every city where there was a Negro League team. We had hotels. We had restaurants. We had all of these different attractions that were making money. We had barbershops. We had black businesses that were flourishing and that were eating from the Negro Leagues and from the gifts and talents of our brothers, which is what we should be doing now. But of course, we look at the entertainers now, and our people aren't really gaining anything from that except maybe a 3-hour game where they can go and sit and drink beer and spend money, you know, and have an emotional high, and then it's over. But the Negro Leagues, once Jackie Robinson integrated into the Negro Leagues, all of those businesses slowly but surely disintegrated. All of those coaches and those owners in the Negro Leagues who thought that they eventually were going to be able to transition into the major leagues with Jackie Robinson. After him, he was he broke the glass ceiling, so everybody was eventually supposed to come behind him. None of that happened. So all of those jobs, all of those players who had those skills, and there were players who were better than Jackie Robinson, believe that. But they chose him for a specific reason. He played the role that he was supposed to play when he got there. He was able to deal with all of that abuse, all of that victimization. But all of those different entities that were involved in the Negro Leagues slowly but surely disintegrated.
Right.
So all of those businesses fell off, and homes were lost, and economies were destroyed. And I think that speaks directly to the point that you were trying to make. We can show other examples of that, but I think that that's a very good example.
Right. The history, if the history is told to us by us, then we would have to correct that aspect of history that she just gave us, and the fact that Rosa Parks wasn't the first nor the last one.
Right.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? To do what she did. I believe we were seeing the story about there was a darker skinned sister
Right, right.
that was one of the first ones, but she didn't fit the bill. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and what you're talking about right there, that goes along with movement as well nowadays. So we're going to touch on that probably next hour, because that's very important, just the whole
Right.
look and the imagery of what activism is supposed
And
to
who's
be.
orchestrating it?
Absolutely. And
Right.
yeah, whose hand is in whose pocket,
Right.
or, and who's behind. Also, we talked about entertainment, and we talked about we touched on entertainment, and we touched on athletes. You mentioned folks like Jackie Robinson. Back in the day, you had athletes like Muhammad Ali. You had quote unquote entertainers like Harry Belafonte and Paul Robeson, who were very vocal against oppression. You even had white boys like Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando, who actually wanted to give the Black Panther Party guns after little Bobby Hutton was murdered, and Dr. King, and who both of their anniversaries are coming up this week, April 4th and April 6th. Where are those entertainers right now? Where are those athletes right now? How do you all feel about that? Is there any Muhammad Ali's or Paul Robesons or Harry Belafonte's out right now?
I don't know if they're not sick with the disease of taking the past, and every time we get re-stimulated about the past, seeing what happened to Muhammad Ali and a few other people, they're very quiet. They know, but I think they're very quiet. But when they do speak out, we always find them on the wrong side of history. The story you read to me about Kobe Bryant. We always find them on the wrong side of history. A couple of them that did speak out in the locker room or whatever, that ostracized, chastised, fined, booted out the particular leagues. You understand what I'm saying? So now they feel, speak out for what?
Right.
And a lot of times this is their attitude. Their attitude is like, I'm not putting my career on the line. What are black people going to do if I do speak out?
We're going to hold that for a second. We have another caller. Caller, state your name. I can call on.
Greetings.
Hey, how you doing?
Greetings. Yeah, I have a question. Earlier you guys talked about missing body parts and organs from black people or people. My question is, what does that have to do with the creation of melanin pills? I know that fertility rates are dropping in Europe, and basically they can't sustain on this planet without melanin. And my question is, do you think the missing organs are being used to manufacture these melanin pills to help Europeans sustain life on this planet?
I'd like to touch on that real quick. In the early 80s, there was a case here in Atlanta where they accused Wayne Williams of kidnapping and murdering a number of different children. I think the number was like 32, 33, somewhere around that. And the one thing that many of those children had in common was that they were missing the foreskins of their penises, and that's where one of the highest concentrations of melanin come from. And shortly after that, the whole melatonin craze came about. So I am one to I strongly believe that that it certainly has to do something with melanin, but not only that, you have a lot of rich folks in different countries who are dying and need organs and so on and so forth. And what better people to get it from than these people who are already being shot down, center mass by police, these people who are being murdered in the streets by each other, so on and so forth. But that's my take on it.
Well, and you can go on Walgreens now. They have melanin sunglasses. You can buy glasses that have a melanin or synthetic melanin coating in the glasses that is supposed to help Europeans or people with extremely light eyes to be able to, take in the sun. So when you look at the fact that I would say that what you're saying, yes, and I would agree with him, and I would also say that they're doing a high level of experimentation right now using melanin in order to cure different diseases, in order to create these exotic weapons, these exotic space weapons. The spaceship has a synthetic coating of melanin on it, and that's the only way that they could actually get it out into, through all of the different layers of the Earth, and then out into space, is by having that artificial melanin. We're talking about carbon. So when you look at all of these different factors that melanin are used for, I would say yes to your question, and then I would also say that they're doing an extreme amount of experimentation on melanin. They have race-based weapons. You can only create a race-based weapon by studying the people that you're creating the weapon for, right? So I would say yes to that, and then did you want to add anything?
Yeah, the whole idea of melanin in and of itself is a conversation that's way beyond the average white person.
Yeah.
They may even look at this conversation that we're having about melanin as though it's some pseudo-scientific kind of hogwash, kind of gibberish. You understand what I'm saying? And but it's very real. Even when I say the average white person, I'm talking about, Officer Hugengladen, the one that patrols the black neighborhood. You understand what I'm saying? He may not understand that particular dynamic. The investigators, the prosecutors, we have to stop thinking that white people are smart.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And they don't need to be taught.
We
They
overrate
do.
them. We overrate them, brother.
Thank you. Very, very, very overrated. There's a damn plane missing with 200 people on it. Who the hell is the plane?
Hey, man,
You understand? So stop.
It's only 775,000 pounds, though, man. You can't expect
we need
that
to stop
flying.
thinking that these people are smart, and they're absolutely not.
Right.
If we was to understand the particular dynamic of what melanin is, then what ZaZa is saying, what you're saying, will fit perfectly into why there's 32 missing and murdered children. And then because racism, white supremacy is intact, you have to blame the black man.
Right.
The war on terrorism, you have to blame black people. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The murderer of black leaders and other black people, you have to put the black face on it. The Time magazine, which had the son of Bin Laden's sons, these young brothers coming up in this quote-unquote terrorist organization called Al-Qaeda, which is a farce and fake. Al-Qaeda was a computer network program. It's something that the CIA made up, but they put a black face on it. The shoe bomber, the underwear bomber, and all these other damn bombers, they have to put black faces on it, all right? Simply because what ZaZa said is absolutely correct. If we was to love one another, racism, white supremacy would disappear tomorrow. It's imperative that they keep the hatred among us intact so they can survive.
And I would just say real quick, the story of Henrietta Lacks deserves all of our attention. If you don't know who she is, Google her. Through her blood, they did a blood test on her, and through her blood and her DNA, they were able to create, not only do a lot of experimentation, but to create a lot of cures for diseases that have carried on to this day. So who's to say, they take our blood when we go to the hospital, who's to say that that melanin and that DNA is not creating a bunch of a source and a revenue of cures for all different types of ailments.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But hold on one second.
We gotta go to a quick break.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. We're going to go to a quick break, and we're going to get back to Professor Griff and ZaZa, and we're going to go and talk about these underwear bombers. Hold the call. We'll be back in a few minutes. And you're listening to, checking out State of Black Emergency. What's happening, y'all? You are watching People TV, and we are the people. You know what I mean? We're here. We talking about the state of the black race. I'm here with my guests. I think we should do this more often. What y'all think?
I think that would be good.
No, you better wait till this air.
Oh, okay. Oh,
See what kind of.
it's live right now, man. You know?
They may not want us back.
Hey, it's all good. They love us. Y'all love us. Call in. I'm telling y'all love us. We got ZaZa Ali here, and we have our good brother, Professor Griff from Public Enemy. I'm Kalonji Changa, and I am a threat to the throne. So anyway, we back, and we want to talk about a few things. When we left, we were talking about, we were dealing with entertainment a little bit.
Right.
We was dancing on the whole notion of why a lot of these entertainers got their lips buttoned right now. Mm-hmm. Now, we're going to dab a little bit. We know you from the whole Public Enemy era, and I know you get asked 52,000 questions about Public Enemy every time you do an interview, because that's just how it is. Mm-hmm. Going back to the 80s, we know that you all were one of the groups who ushered in the whole political stance through the hip hop medium. Mm-hmm. You had folks like you all. Then later you had X-Clan and Poor Righteous Teacher and Lakim Shabazz and so many others, Brand Nubians, who came with different styles and so on and so forth. I remember growing up in Connecticut. I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut. I remember everybody on our block, everybody in our community was riding around, the drug dealers, the stick-up kids, everybody was bumping Public Enemy. You know what I mean? It was on the radio. It was, driving by in the car, so on and so forth. What happened to that? What happened to, that particular type of music being the dominant culture, more or less?
Well, not necessarily that type of music, that mindset, because they responded to the music, they responded to the lyrics, but they responded in such a way where they wanted to be part of the movement. And the movement far exceeded the CD at that particular time. So as I teach in this book here, The Psychological Covert War on Hip Hop, when you talk about what happened to it, gangsterism happened to it, ushering in this gangster mentality, ushering in the pimp mentality, ushering in the player mentality, not ushering in, but marrying hip-hop on to pornography, marrying hip-hop on to jail culture. To become a rapper, one of the 12 themes, you had to be able to bring bricks in. You had to have, in every area code, you have to have these 12 themes that permeate the rap music now. None of it based on the four fundamental elements of hip-hop. None of it based on the griots and what the griots brought from the continent to America. Nothing based on what the culture said it was going to provide as far as raising the conscious level of the people. The culture meaning that vehicle that transports ideas, norms, values, traditions from the old to the new. How would this sister know how to, what's that, your favorite dish that you make? Do you have one?
Bean soup.
Bean soup. Did you learn that recipe off the internet? No.
No.
It had to be passed on.
Right.
She had to stay in the kitchen with her auntie, grandma, or mama and watch them prepare that meal. It wasn't on a cue card. She didn't download it off the internet. All right? She had to be in the kitchen with her grandma or auntie. And they said, well, ZaZa, pass me this, the paprika, the salt, or whatever, some different spices and ingredients. And that's how she learned it. That recipe was passed on via the culture.
So it was sort of like the griot. We're gonna hold that 1 second. We have another phone call that we're gonna go to real quick, because they're burning the line up, and we know that they want to talk to you about underwear bombs you was talking about. But, caller.
Yes, I want to talk about the music. I just want to say something. If they change the music to like the old school music I was listening to the other day, like Curtis Mayfield and Marvin Gaye and all those guys, I bet your crime would go down 50%. Also, I just want to say that the music I was listening to did something to my soul. It just seemed like that my body calmed down and everything. I just want to put that out there. I think the music that they playing now, like these two guys on the radio, it does something to my senses. I can't even listen to the stuff anymore.
Right. I think what he's talking about the energy centers. I think he's talking about each one of us in this room, in the studio here, have 7 chakras. You know, we have more chakras than 7, but at least 7. Right. And these chakras are your energy centers. And I think what he's talking about is when he did and do hear Marvin Gaye and Curtis Mayfield, in most cases, you know, it's hitting you at your green chakra, right, your heart chakra, which is one of the most important chakras because it's centered between the 3 that are above and the 3 that are below. The music that he's comparing to Marvin Gaye and Curtis Mayfield to of today, he's talking about this music, this vibratory energy and frequency in the music is hitting you at your lower energy centers. And your lower energy centers are responsible for your urges and your desires. So unbeknownst to us, in the mastering process and in the mixing process, low bass tones are interweaved into the music to the point where it affects your lower energy centers, different than it'll affect white people. We have a high concentration of melanin. Well, what do you mean by that, Professor Griff? Because we have a high concentration of melanin, when we bite into an apple, we taste the full range of the apple. You understand what I'm saying? Right. We even interact with everything in nature different than other people. When we listen to music, because the ear is lined with melanin, we hear the full range and the full scope of the music, including the silent beat. So even when you're up in the club and you're doing the damn thing, and the DJ turn the music off, we still with it.
Right.
We still there. You understand? Because we have melanin, all right, we interact with the silent beat. White people can't do this, all right? You turn the music off, that square dance is a wrap. Are you following me? We have to understand this particular dynamic. And today, the music is being programmed to hit us between the lower 2 chakras. And then on top of that, the images, the colors, the shapes, and everything that's hitting the subconscious mind, all right, is all taking effect simultaneously at the same time. God forbid if you up in the club and you threw a couple back.
Right.
And wine and liquor are called spirits, am I correct?
Absolutely.
So now your energy centers are really open. So by the time ZaZa leave the dance floor and end up in the parking lot on the way to a car, you out in the parking lot paying parking lot pimp, trying to get her phone number. You understand what I'm saying? It's a different dynamic that's going on now as opposed to you being sober.
Because some spirits is jumping. We got another phone call. We're going to get back to that because that music part is very important. Caller.
Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm just fine. I want to thank ZaZa for telling everybody the true, what can I say, the true answer here, that we are the God people, and white people know what they're doing, everything they can to get rid of us.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Peace, Queen.
Would you like to speak to that?
No.
I'm sorry, I'm not the host.
I thank you, my sister, for you know, our minds are in sync. So if you recognize what I said to be the truth, then I recognize the fact that you recognized it. Just as far as going back to hip hop, I came up on the West Coast, so it was a different dynamic dealing with music. And when I started to travel and go to other places like the East Coast and Atlanta and some places down south, I couldn't understand why there was a sense of enlightenment and cultural connection in some of these places I was visiting. And then when you go to the West Coast, there's nothing. So I came up on Too Short, I came up on NWA, and this type of music, the gangster rap that he talked about. And even now, just to speak to the power of music, I consider myself to be, you know, conscious and wide awake now. And the music that I listened to when I was 16, I would never listen to now. But I still find myself sometimes humming that music in my mind. So, you know, you got a group like the Dog Pound, which was Corrupt, Daz, and Snoop Dogg. They had a song, I can't even say it, it's so vulgar, but it was basically talking about the anatomy of the woman and how good her sex was. I still find myself humming that song in my head sometimes, and every time I do it, I have to kind of, you know, talk to myself and come back to square one. But it just goes to show the power of music. So you have sisters riding in the car now, listen to Beyonce and talking about Surfboard and singing about being drunk in love and describing sexual behavior singing it while their children are in the car,
Right.
and they're thinking that the daughter doesn't know what she's talking about, but she's singing this music in her head and she's learning the words. So when she turns 10, when she turns 15, when she turns 21, that seed has already been planted in her mind that the way to a man's heart is through his sexual organs. No, the way to a man's bed is through his sexual organs. The way to a man's heart is by studying yourself and learning the science of yourself, and how important you are in loving yourself, and then you will have that complement within your mate.
Right.
But I say all of that to say that the power of music, the brother talked about the old school songs and the Earth, Wind, Fire and Frankie Beverly and Maze and stylistics and that type of music. I was lucky to have an auntie who was very into, you know, that type of music, so I had balance. But I look at some of the brothers who were in the streets who got caught up in the struggle. They fed on Too Short. They fed on that pimp mentality, and you could see it in the way that they interacted with our sisters. So have we allowed a culture of young pimps and thugs and you know, womanizers and prostitutes and whores to be molded and shaped just based on the music that we listen to?
Well, I think that was by design, as it talks about in Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's racism, white supremacy definition. It talks about entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war for the ultimate purpose of white genetic survival. And when it talks about entertainment, it's not separate from the other 9 areas of people activity. They expect you, all right, to participate in a culture that they help mold and shape. So they allow the lowest essence of what we have to offer to stay at the top, to stay in front of us, on repeat on the radio, same 13 songs, same 13 songs on the video. You understand what I'm saying? So they have the same madness on repeat all day long, every single day. And they bombard you not only with the visual, but what you hear.
Right.
Then the magazine, then the style of clothes. You know, daggone well, ain't no black man sat around and came up with no damn skinny jeans.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? This was done by design. You understand what I'm saying? So when you marry the jail and prison culture on the hip hop, you come up out of the jail, all right? And when you come up out of the jail, you bring that same mentality, that same dress, you marry it onto hip hop. Now you're making songs about it to support it, all right? Now you're setting a trend in motion. So on one hand, you wearing pants so damn skinny they look like tights. Men having camel hoofs, or you follow them walking like penguins.
Right.
And then on the flip side of that, to balance that out, you got brothers that are sagging, which is niggas spelled backwards,
Right.
with their pants damn near at their knees.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So you see this particular dynamic. Let me tell you, man, when the pendulum swings, it's coming back the other way.
Right.
And both the sides of the pendulum are sharp, all right? It's going to cut both ways. We need to understand this particular dynamic. We don't need to choose between one or the other. We need to put in place a culture that will speak to who and what we are. Listen, at the God core, not just the surface human stuff, not because you live in St. Louis or LA or Atlanta or New York. It needs to speak to the core of us, which is God. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
You should tell yourself. I always talk about we should have a cultural reset button in hip hop. And every now and then press the damn button and bring it back to its origin to straighten out some of the madness that's going on. We would never accept these brothers today wearing skirts in hip hop.
Let's hold that thought, because we're going to get back to that again.
Oh, I hold the thought.
Hey,
you're going to get back to the skirts.
I
The brothers
already
wearing
know. We're
skirts.
going to definitely get to the skirts.
All right.
We're going to get to the skirts, the tight shirts, and the swirts, the shorts that look like skirts, all that. Carla, what's happening?
Yeah, how you doing?
All right, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, I think it's a design because you go way back to the. Yeah, how you doing? I think it's a design.
Peace, brother.
Okay, yes, I think it's a design because you go way back to the movies, and you saw movies like Shaft. You had a strong black guy who took down the Italian mafia, he took down the Ku Klux Klan. Then you had a brother come out that was bright skinned. You know, he played a role as a pimp, the Mac. Then you had another brother called Ronald Miller who played a role as Superfly. Then he started coming out movies like Menace to Society, you know, South Central, Colors. So they went from being a pimp player, now they got movies like New Jack City. So you got everybody now want to be drug dealers. So the whole industry designed for us to be weak as a black man. So the whole industry is, it's really gay. I'm a rapper myself, and I've been a rapper for like 25 years, and I still focus on, good conscious music. I got a lot of rap songs I wrote, and I think that the whole thing is really based on just destroying the black man and making him weak as a man, so he can't stand up and take his women and family.
I absolutely agree with you, brother. And just the names of the movies that you named off, if we look back during those periods of time, we can absolutely see those characteristics played out in our communities. And I would add to that, I agree with everything you said, but it's actually, the goal is also to destroy the black woman. Because if we look at the media images of black women right now, if we look at the Real Housewives of Atlanta, if we look at Basketball Wives, if we look at Scandal, if we look at Mary Jane, the underlying sentiment is an overtly sexual, very promiscuous, self-centered, non-family oriented female. So I said the destruction of racism, white supremacy comes at the hand of the family structure. So absolutely the goal is to destroy the image of the black man, therefore his self-perception, but it also goes along with the black woman as well. And by killing those two stones, you automatically, it automatically rolls over into the children.
Right. Is the caller still there?
Carly, still there?
Yeah.
Okay,
cool.
Also, what she said is the choices of the roles that we were allowed to play during that particular time. Right. And keep in mind that area, that period of time, that era, was the era of the black exploitation. So culturally, what was going on in the black community was the music classes were being silenced. The African dance at the youth centers were being closed. No way to express ourselves. So when hip-hop was born, we gave birth to something and we took to the street in order to cultivate it. May not have been the best place, but it was the only place.
Right. It's funny. It seems like today, we appreciate you calling.
Thank you.
Thank you for adding on. That was on the money.
Peace, my brother.
Peace to you, bro. It seems like today, the whole music culture, we talk about not just hip hop, but music as a whole. It seems as if it's a marketing commercial. You got cats rapping about what they got. You know what I'm saying? They're introducing all these new names, cars, alcohol, drugs, whatever. Right. And then on the flip side, with what they're wearing, the fashion, so on and so forth. I don't think that these dresses and skirts and these skinny jeans and all that a lot of these brothers are wearing are just for the sake of wearing them. I believe that these fashion designers are paying these folks to wear these different types of joints, because what you see is when you see these guys with dresses, you look in the magazines, he is wearing a such and such Louis Vuitton skirt, or he's wearing blah, blah, blah. So it's a sales pitch as well. On the flip side with the music, it's a lot of quote unquote spell casting. And I know that you taught on that a lot in regards to the whole Illuminati, so on and so forth. Can you dabble a little bit on that as far as just...
Well, there's one thing that you said on the flip side, some are being paid. I don't ever want us to think that these people are writing these people checks.
Right.
That's not how that works. Some of these people are doing this on their own, simply because a part of them wants to express themselves beyond their limitation that's being set on them in a genre of music. They felt that they've reached their, how did Kanye West said, his artistic peak.
Yeah.
So, but now because I've reached my artistic peak with writing songs and producing music, I've done that. Artistically now, what else can I do? Right. So now let me hook up with the white homosexuals from Paris, London, New York, and other places. Let me express myself, because according to Kanye West, something about gay people, which with that gets that homo gene, activates itself and it gives you more creative expression. Wow. No, this is Kanye West. Now.
That's what he said. Oh, wow.
So now when we go to designing clothes that are not their children now, because their children don't wear this stuff. When it comes to dressing black men, all right, who they naturally fear, all right? We got to feminize the black man and put him in a dress simply because of what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing talked about, racism, white supremacy. If we were to act like the men and the gods that we are, all right, white supremacy wouldn't even exist at all, plain and simple. So it's imperative that they put black men in a dress. Why? The family consists of what? Man, woman, children, not pet, sorry white people, not pet, not the car,
Not even the dog.
not the dog, ancestors, then extended family, aunties, uncles, aunts.
Right.
All right, then when we extend that family, we go and get into the ancestors because they're with us right now. Because the ancestors speak to us from within us. So they're at the table also. All right? Then we could talk about, yes, sir.
No, I was going to say we got another caller. The calls are starting to come
I
in or
won't
whatever.
forget my point. Go
No,
ahead.
we're going to get back at it. But
All right.
let's see what the caller's talking about. See if we still in agreement. Make sure we're in part of the same family. Caller.
Yes, sir. I got this video called Hidden Colors 1 and 2, and this brother states that these young boys gonna be wearing their pants all the way to the ground, and he said the next step is these brothers gonna be wearing dresses. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was Dr.
Francis
Francis
Cress
Cress Welsing that
Yeah.
said that. She said the brothers are sagging so low now, in a minute they're going to step out of the pants and they're going to start pulling up skirts and dresses. And she was exactly right, and that's exactly what they're doing. The effeminization of the African male was homosexuality, and the effeminization of African male by Mwali Muke Bomani Baruti. He gave us this dynamic work for us to study. Now, I'm not sure how long, do you know how long ago he wrote the book?
It was in the 90s.
But Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Iranimu Baruti, and other people have spoke to this time, this day in which we live right now.
Yeah.
But you said that they were paid. You said they would be paid by these high fashion designers. Some of them are not. Some of them, I'm not sure if ZaZa want to mention some of them, but I think some of them do this on their own. Maybe they trying to express the other side of them. It's hard for me to even get this out, man. We're going to take the call and we're going to get back to the brothers.
We'll go to a caller. Griff about to explode, y'all. 2 hours is not enough.
I'm trying to be nice.
It's not enough. You're going to be nice. We got to bring him out of this. This is the Griff I know before he was all distinguished. Yes, perhaps it was. now, Professor Griff back again. Bring it, caller. Caller, you still with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, you got to talk a little bit louder, man. Sound like you were on the job behind the cubicle whispering
Yes,
to us.
can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, brother.
Yeah, I was looking at a program. It was talking about Flip Wilson with Geraldine, you know, a long time ago, and Martin Lawrence. How, you know, it seemed like all these major entertainers got to dress like women. They got to play women parts to be successful. Even though Geraldine made Flip Wilson successful, and it was a part that is still today is strong within our race. You know, everyone has to play. Even I think there are many actors who play women parts, and we've got to look at what these people are buying into when they do this kind of stuff. What are they saying about the black race, about the black man, that he has to dress like a woman to be successful? I mean, I think it's not good. I don't know why these young boys are emulating wearing their pants below their ankles. It's just horrible. It's a horrible thing. And we've got to address that. We've got to nip it in the bud before it gets any stronger. It's stronger than our race right now.
He's talking to self.
Oh, right on, brother.
Well, I think what he's speaking to is maybe speaking to the whole ritualistic side of the initiation process of black entertainers coming to Hollywood. And it didn't start with the migration of rappers and hip hop artists being made TV and movie stars.
Right.
It happened prior to it. He mentioned Flip Wilson. So it's something ritualistic and very entertaining for white people that black men put on a dress. We were talking about the effeminization, but if we go back to the definition, now this behavior, He says she says, in most white people are consciously or subconsciously determined. But the whole idea of using the feminization of black men as entertainment is a whole different dynamic. They're sending a signal to younger black men that this is what you have to do in order for you to become successful, as the caller said.
Right.
All right? And this has become the thing. So the whole idea of them paying these brothers to do this, on one hand, is true, but on the other hand, it's already pre-programmed and pre-prescribed for young black men coming into the music industry and coming into the to become an entertainer, i.e., TV star or movie star. Okay. It's already pre-prescribed. All right, it's in the contract. It's in the fine print. In order for you to be successful, this is what you have to do.
Okay, now there are some folks, because we are in this new age in America.
With the age of Aquarius, as ZaZa talked about earlier.
Age of Aquarius, as ZaZa talked about. There are some folks who are going to be watching. They're going to say, well, you know, that sounds homophobic. You know what I'm saying? I want to know, what are your thoughts on that, the feminization of the black male?
Well,
And the dresses and all that stuff.
And we need to define homophobic, okay?
Yes.
do we have a caller?
Sorry, we'll take the caller first, and then we'll get to it, if that's cool, family. Caller.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to make a statement. I'm actually up here getting my master's, and I left my family back in Florida. I have a wife and 2 kids.
He said he was
My
giving
main
back his
concern
master?
is
Getting it.
my son asked me 2 questions. He watches the Disney Channel, but now the Disney Channel is full of men wearing dress. So he's coming up to me asking me, Dad, why are these guys wearing dresses? And I'm like, no, son, you don't have to worry about it. It's just part of the act. But it's being shown so much that he's forced to keep asking me this. And he's asking me. So yeah, I see where the media is kind of, getting in the way, because my son is 5 years old, and he's asking me these questions. And I wanted to ask, what should I tell him, or how should I handle it?
Professor.
Mom? Well, I think one of my methods in raising my son from a personal level, I just speak directly, and I speak right to the heart of what it is. And I think I didn't experience what you experienced in your case, thank God, simply because the whole idea of role model, the whole idea of putting people in front of my sons that they can look up to, the whole idea of staying on a straight path, the whole idea of culture in harmony with spiritual concepts was in place and intact. Never, ever with my 2 sons had to even think of having to have that particular conversation. Listen, there's over 200 different dialects on the African continent that we speak. None of them speak to the fact that there's homosexuals that was there in Africa. Matter of fact, we didn't even have a word for it. And I'm sure you'd be hard-pressed to find a word in any of the 200 different dialects that we speak that speaks to that particular behavior, because it wasn't none. We didn't know what it was to have an old folks home because we didn't need one. You don't find jails on the African continent. You probably find them now, but back then we didn't find them because we didn't need any. And this is that same particular dynamic when it comes to the family. I didn't have to have that conversation because it wasn't needed. There were things in place inside of the family that checked that particular behavior without Professor Griff having to pull my son aside and saying, look, son, we don't wear skirts and dresses, and we don't wear, cute little frizzy little things in the hair, chewing on pacifiers and all this other kind of madness that you see from some of the entertainers. Never had to have that conversation. Now, you having a child in 2014? Hell, you better be prepared to have that conversation, that and then some, along with the birds and the bees and the conversation about drugs and about health and about all the other madness that seems to have its ultimate main goal at the destruction of the young black male. That pipeline from public school to private prisons now is very, 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 very real.
Yeah. And I would say, brother, the first thing you have to do, I know in somebody's head they're thinking just turn the TV off. Don't let your child watch Disney Channel. Well, that sounds real good. But the unfortunate reality is that this imagery is hitting our children from all different angles. So if they don't see it on TV, they're going to see it on their smartphone or on the computer or on the billboards as you're driving down the street. So it's not a conversation that we can't afford to not have, that we can afford to not have. I would say instill in your child the important essence of the family, man, woman, and child. How important that circle, that 360 degrees is, the role that the woman plays, the role that the father plays, the role that the child plays. And if either one of those entities are missing, we don't have a complete circle. My son is 10, and when I had that conversation with him in California, I found out at a parent-teacher conference that his teacher told me that they were talking about one of the children who had two mothers. And my son laughed, just out of, it was his natural reaction to laugh at the thought of a child having two mothers. And the teacher, kind of reprimanded him, and then went to the library and brought a book about two male teddy bears being married into the class to have a discussion about diversity. So, of course, when I find this out in the parent-teacher conference, I'm livid. I stopped the conference. I stopped her from talking. I had my son come and sit down, and I explained what I'm explaining to you right now. Now, I shouldn't have to explain this to my son at 8 years old, but because you've opened up the can of worms, let me explain to you how I teach my son at home.
Right.
So every time you are feeding this garbage into his mind, you know that he's bringing it home, and we're shooting that back out, and this is what we're actually going over. This is a complete circle, man, woman, and child. If either of these entities are missing, we don't have a complete circle.
Right.
The importance that the woman brings to the table is something that the man doesn't have. The importance that the woman brings to the importance that the man brings to the table is something that the woman doesn't have.
Right.
It's simple. We make it complex. We get scared. I talk to my son about this all the time. If we see two men holding hands or two women holding hands, we lock eyes. And we automatically know that we don't even have to talk about it anymore, because he has the proper understanding of not only the family, but who he is as a young black man, what his role is as a young black male, what his role is for our people as far as our people are concerned, and what he's going to put out into the world. You have to reproduce yourself in order to live forever. So one of your most important goals is to reproduce yourself. You can't do that without a woman.
Okay. Sound like you was hitting them upside the head. Oops, upside the head.
That's right.
Now,
I do want to say something though about that other skirts topic.
Did the question get answered, Carla?
He hung up.
Okay, cool. We appreciate you calling.
But the whole homophobic thing,
Right.
And then this age of Aquarius, I think we need to kind of deal with. There was a brother in Florida, I forget his name, that broke down the whole idea. Homo meaning man.
Yeah.
Right.
Phobic meaning, I guess, fear of.
Right.
No, that term is incorrect. Fear of man. Why would we fear men? We're men.
Right.
I don't fear you. So the whole idea of taking terms, putting it on out there and putting it on us, and then making it mean what you want to make it mean for your political gain,
Right.
or your personal political gain. All right, we have to stop that at its root. The whole idea, and I broke it down in my book, Analytics, 20 years of conversations and interviews with Public Enemy's Minister of Information, Professor Griff. I was being called anti-Semitic so damn much I thought it was my damn middle name. So I said, why don't we just do something very plain and very simple? Let's not get real intellectual with it. Let's just go look the damn term up.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And then to find out it's a linguistic term, and to find out that the people that was charging other people with anti-Semitism weren't the Semitic people at all.
That's right.
Fake the funk.
Exactly. So if we're looking at that Semitic linguistic term, Semitic, all right, these are the these are the languages that we spoke. So then in order for me to be anti-Semitic, I'd have to be anti-self, anti-black, and we know that ain't true.
We figured
You
that
understand
out.
what I'm saying? So I'm saying, hold up. So I'm saying, so the whole idea of taking the term homophobic now,
Right.
years later, and putting it out there, redefining it, giving it your own personal political definition. And politics is the science of governing people.
Right.
All right, putting your definition on it, and putting the spin on it, making us think that just because we have an opinion and a position on homosexuality that we're being homophobic. We can't be homophobic.
Amen. Going to the caller real quick. Caller, may we take your
Question or comment?
question and comment? I'm sorry.
No, we have a radio show that we do.
Right.
It's called, no.
Caller, you with us?
Yes.
Hey, how you doing?
Yes. Hi. How you doing?
Okay.
Okay. First of all, I just want to say greetings to you all.
Great.
Peace, Queen.
And I just wanted to just get on the point. And first of all, commend all of you all that's on that's at the table. You all are doing an excellent job. And I pray that every young person is listening to this. But I want to just mention that when you all speak of family, you all say man, woman, and child. And I think it's imperative that, which I'm sure we all know this, but for our young people, that it's very important to mention God, man, woman, and child, due to the fact that the enemy is working day and night to get, to keep us away from God. And when we have God, man, woman, and child in the picture, always mentioning God, then that brings us back to a spiritual sense of knowing who is God and maybe doing more study on for each individual for the spiritual. So I just wanted to mention that, but you all are doing a great job, and I commend all of you all, and may God be with all of you.
Thank you so much,
Well,
Queen.
this is what we well, thank you very much. But this is what I alluded to when I talked about and gave the man, woman, children, all right. Then the extended family, the aunties, uncles, grandma, and then the ancestors that are here with us, and then even beyond that, myself, and I know ZaZa. I can't really speak for Kalonji because he has locks. I'm just saying, we know and understand that we're the gods. This is God having a goddess having a human experience called ZaZa. I'm a god having a human experience called Professor Griff. You understand what I'm saying? So, sister, you're absolutely correct. But I think the way we understand the whole concept of the creator, that's already built in. That's something that we don't even discuss.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
when
well,
I see the sister, I see the God, the goddess.
That's right. Elijah Muhammad said, every time you look at a black man, you're looking at God.
Right.
And he also said that Allah was all of us. So when I mentioned the man, woman, and child, God is already built into that equation. The first commandment, if you will, in the Bible is to be fruitful and multiply. So when we add the child into the element of the relationship between the man and the woman, we are carrying out that divine right and responsibility to reproduce the God self, which we are looking at with the staff here as well as you who called in on the line.
So in order, we celebrate each other's divinity. Mm-hmm. If I'm divine, and I am, because everything divine in nature is operating inside of me, when I see my sister, that divinity salutes the divinity in her.
Right.
She's goddess having a human experience called ZaZa.
Right.
That's right. And my locks are crazy cool, and Griff just hating on my locks. But
That's the God force
That's
right there.
those are antennas to connect to the cosmic
I don't even want
force.
to let him down on y'all real quick.
Brother, can I please speak on that? We don't have
The age of Aquarius?
Well, the age of Aquarius, yes.
On my locks.
Not the locks.
Okay, good.
But I want to go back to that homosexuality thing. But first, the age of Aquarius, thank you for reminding me about that. We have this pseudoscience mentality among us now. We have to be extremely careful that we are moving towards a more feminine reality, and that it's going to be normal and natural for men to become more feminine. Mm-hmm. What is happening right now is that we are moving back to the system of Ma'at, which is balance.
Right.
Our planet has been completely imbalanced with the rule of racism, white supremacy, to the point where we are operating from a patriarchal mentality, if you will. Right. And the female essence has been removed from all of the different areas of people activity, as he quoted Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. So the masculine entity is not going to be removed or turned off. We're going to be rebalanced so that we're not overtly masculine or overtly feminine, but extremely balanced. As far as the homosexuality thing, in the ISIS paper, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talks about the fact that bisexuality, being gay, homosexuality, transgender, being effeminized, all of these different terms, what this is a conscious or a subconscious submission to the white man. So if you are involved in any of these areas of people activity, if you are wearing a skirt in the media, you are knowingly or unknowingly submitting yourself to racism, white supremacy, particularly to the white man, because homosexuality is rooted in Greco and Roman culture, as Baruti teaches us in the effeminization of the African man, and I know I'm paraphrasing his book.
Right.
But
it's homosexuality and effeminization. Right?
okay, so when we look at these are men who are neutralized. If you are a black man and you are operating under any of those terms or mentalities or realities, you are neutralized. You are no longer a threat to the world of white supremacy. And this is why we see gay men moving up the corporate ladder much easier than strong, real black men. This is why we see them prevalent in the fashion industries. This is why we see them in the hair industry making strides, even though this love, relationship that black women and homosexual men got going on, we need to talk about that, because a lot of sisters can't sit at the table with a real woman and have a real intelligent dialogue and have a respect factor, but you are okay with running around with men that are flaming and trying to be and act like women. I don't understand that. But the homosexual or effeminized man is not a threat to the world of racism and white supremacy. And this is why we're seeing images of our men, strong men, like Mos Def, in a skirt. Now, the brother had on kente cloth, so I don't know if his intention was really to, go back to the root of who we are as a people. But knowing what he knows about the imagery, and he's in the life, and he knows that they're pushing a homosexual agenda, you would think that he would have, paraphrased or contextualized the image so that the young brothers who are watching would have the proper understanding. I think we have a call.
Okay. And we'll get back to that. Caller. How you doing?
Yes, fine. How you doing? I'm glad to be able to tune in to you tonight. You have a very great show. I want to ask you this question about homosexuality and the relationship to homosexuality with the black movement and with progressive movement that's going on today. You see the homosexual community taking a lot of lead on death penalty, a lot of lead on police brutality. But can we call on the homosexual community to take on a responsibility? And we know that there's some parts of the homosexual community that's not trying to drag out their agenda in our faces all the time. Is there a segment in the homosexual community that is time for today to ask them to speak out against men wearing their pants to the ground? And maybe if the homosexual community can address this matter, then maybe the heterosexual part of the man who has started to pull his pants down can really realize that he's been a sexual advertisement and a bait for the homosexual community that's trying to bring male and male together in a sexual way. Is there a responsibility there, Professor Griff and your host and
ZaZa.
and Sister Ali? Is there a responsibility now in the relationship of homosexuals for them to speak out against the men portraying themselves from their behind?
Thank you very much, brother, for your question. My answer would be emphatically no. I think it would be absolutely counterproductive for us to go to the homosexual community and ask for their aid in anything that we are trying to accomplish for our people. I do believe that, this underground, turning out culture. I watched a video of a young sister who talked about the fact that lesbians in her high school were seeking out straight women or straight girls and looking to turn them out. And of course, we know the whole down low, whatever you want to call it, lifestyle that Oprah Winfrey catapulted into the world. You know, the black man who is trying to live a straight life with a wife and a family, but secretly going and having sex with men. I think that those are conversations that homosexuals need to be addressing, because that's a sick and savage behavior and way of life, trying to turn a person who is straight or who's trying to live a righteous life into a savage. And I'm not calling homosexuals savage, but I'm saying if you're moving out with that intention, you are absolutely a savage. But as far as homosexuals trying to speak to the plight of black people, what we're dealing with in our children, no.
Professor Griff, you want to?
Oh yeah, I was basically going to say exactly what she just said. We're not gonna, if we do call, we're not calling on homosexuals. We're calling on the fact that there are other black people like us.
Right.
Now, if you bring that agenda, yeah, we might have to check your credentials at the door, because we can no longer put you in front of our children and our people to be represented as homosexuals. That's just not gonna happen.
No.
Not on my watch.
No.
We have another caller. Caller, how you doing?
Yes, I want to say two things that's very important. Number one, they are really pushing homosexuality in these schools today. And number two, people better check their kids in these lower grade classes. They need to check the curriculum, because if they check that curriculum, they will be the shock of their lives with these young kids, what they teaching them in the schools today.
Right
You are absolutely correct, brother. I just told you about my experience. And when I learned about this, I called a meeting with the principal, wrote a letter and everything. And the principal basically told me it's written into California state law that if a child feels threatened because of they have an alternative lifestyle, their parents have an alternative lifestyle, or if they feel threatened as far as gender and diversity is concerned, the teacher does not have to inform the parent. They can use whatever tools they deem necessary in order to cultivate an environment where everybody feels protected. We've also had instances now in California. They passed a law where there are transgender bathrooms. So now boys and girls can both go into the same bathroom. And you know the old saying, as California goes, so goes the rest of the country. So that's an absolute excellent point. And more brothers and sisters should be going and sitting in and just observing the curriculum in the classrooms.
We have about 4 minutes left on this show. I know y'all was talking about 2 hours wasn't enough. We think about doing 5. But I want y'all to tell people how they can listen to your radio show, first and foremost, because of the fact that, you know, unfortunately we can't be on TV every day.
Oh, okay.
It would be great, but
well, she'll give you the empowerment, and I'll give you the enemy minds.
Cool.
Every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, we're on Blog Talk Radio / Minds Matter. That's MINDZMATTER. The name of our show is Enemy Minds. Myself and ZaZa Ali, 8 o'clock every Tuesday, and we kind of deal with a myriad of subjects. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about
this topic.
That's right. Perfect. Yep. So we're going to kind of dive in and take it a little bit further.
And we're also on Monday through Friday from 1 to 4 on Empowerment Radio Network. You can go to tunein.com and search Empowerment Radio Network, or you can download the app, TuneIn app on your phone, and just search Empowerment Radio Network. We're on Monday through Friday from 1 to 4. I'm on Facebook, ZaZa Ali, He's on Facebook, ex-minister Prof. Griff.
That's it.
And we have an Enemy Minds Radio Facebook page as well. His cell phone number, which is
678-557-2919. It's 678-557-2919. And we want to thank you, good brother, for having us.
I want you to give him your beeper number too. Also, real quick, you know, he has a number of different books out. Analytics is one.
Analytics is one. Psychological Covert War on Hip Hop and Acapella Revolution.
And support black bookstores. If you go out and purchase this book, try to get it directly through him, or at least purchase it at a black bookstore.
Right. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And also, I have a book as well, since Griff don't want to promote mine. It's called How to Build a People's Army. On this weekend, real quick, on Friday, April 4th, which is the anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., there will be a rally for Kendrick Johnson, the brother we spoke about earlier, the 17-year-old who was murdered in Valdosta, Georgia, in the high school. We will be in Macon, Georgia on April 4th, this Friday. Buses will be leaving from Atlanta at the West End Mall at 8:30 a.m. So come on down, hop on a van, a bus, and do your thing. On this Sunday coming, I'll be doing a lecture entitled Age of the Internet, and it will be dealing with opportunists and internet freedom fighters, opportunists and that type thing. We'll be speaking on dealing with that on this Sunday at 4 p.m. and that'll be at 1386 Ralph David Abernathy. That's at the Shamri Hattora Center, and that's right across from Kroger in the West End. Closing words, what we got to say about State of Black America? Where we at?
Revolution is not an event, it's a process. It's going to take a process to get us out of this. And revolution is complete, constructive, conscious, cosmic change.
Indeed.
We are in serious, serious trouble. But at the same time, we have been properly prepared mentally, spiritually, and emotionally to get through this time and to come out a better people than we ever were before.
Again, we appreciate your time. This is the State of Black America. And we will be back again. I'm sure we're going to be invited back. I know some of y'all are hostile, whatever. We hate them.
Somebody mad.
You can catch me on Facebook as well, Kalonji Changa. You can follow me on Twitter at Damn Riot Starter, DAMN, like damn Riot Starter. You know what I'm saying? Griff, what's your Twitter, man?
I don't need the Twitter.
He don't even know. He need all the Twitter.
I don't do Twitter, just Facebook.
They don't do Twitter, but you can catch them on Facebook. ZaZa, she gonna be posting something that's gonna piss everybody off tonight. Griff, he always gonna piss somebody off. Me being the kind young black man that I am,
yeah, right.
I appreciate the opportunity to work with you all.
Now pass the gat.
Yes, indeed. But we appreciate y'all. Shout out to People's TV and all our folks. State of Black America.
Peace.
You gonna say State of America?